made a lot of friends, really acclimated the mindset of living in Asia, which is, it's a culture shock the first time you go over there. And it's very different. I know people say, "Oh yeah, but I've been to Japan, I've been to Thailand, I've been to Vietnam, I've been to Singapore." Yes, but it's very different living there. When you move there, like, where am I going to go grocery shopping? When I get to the grocery store, understand that I'm going to see different name brands. You're going to see a lot of the same, but especially today. But back then, very different name brands than you see at home. Like little things like that. It's just, and the language barrier and, all the things.
Welcome to the Pay Me and Plane Tickets podcast. I'm your host, Jelani, and I'm here with Mr. Scott Eddy. He is the innovator, the globetrotter, the trendsetter of travel. And I'm so glad to actually have him on the podcast to close out this year to really sort of begin to talk about the truth about hospitality, how to bring in ROI, how social media impacts hospitality as well, and also just to get his story, because he does have a very unique story that I think most 9-to-5ers could understand and relate with. So welcome, Scott Eddy, to the Pay Me and Plane Tickets podcast.
What's going on, man? So is this the last one of the year?
This is the last recording of the year. Yeah, I'm shutting out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And
That's
then,
very cool. How many have you done this year? Do you know the
yeah,
numbers?
Yeah.
How many?
We only aim for 12 a year. That's it, like for the season. But we actually got through 15, and then now you'll be the 15th
16.
recording. Well, you'll be
Oh,
the 15th
15.
recording. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Very cool.
Well, yeah,
Very
you're
cool.
part of season the season 2 recording.
Very nice. I dig it.
I'd like to start off just a little bit about yourself, kind of where do you hail from, a bit of your story, a bit of your background. You mind sharing a bit about that early days?
So, my father's side of the family is all from Michigan. I was born up there. His side of the family, there's lots of police officers. So my dad was a Michigan State Police, so was my uncle. And then we moved down to Fort Lauderdale when I was 3, and my dad became a Fort Lauderdale cop. And so I really grew up being the son of a police officer. Um, what that means is you have a really different lifestyle. I mean, yeah, it's much more strict and on the straight and narrow, but like all those TV shows like Law and Order, Chicago PD, and like all the shows on TV, that was my everyday. Like I could give an example. Like my mother always cooked extra for dinner because whatever police officers were working in our area, in our neighborhood, could stop over and have dinner with us. So there were constantly police in our house hanging out. And, I spent pretty much every day after school in the police station hanging out with my dad, going on ride alongs. I mean, I learned how to give a polygraph when I was like 14. I learned how to beat one when I was 15. Took my driver's license test in a police car. I mean, it was a wonderful childhood, but it was also a childhood where I knew exactly what the plan was. The plan was I was going to finish high school, join the police academy, become a cop, get married, have the 2.5 kids, the white picket fence, retire and die. Like that was, back in the day,
Yeah.
before this social media and digital and working different jobs and the plan wasn't to go to school and to get a job, get married and die.
Yeah.
We had plans, you know. So I had a date to join the police academy 6 months after I graduated high school, and 3 weeks before I graduated high school, my father was killed in the line of duty in a plane crash. And he was I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you the whole story before.
Sorry
He
about
was a
that.
detective in robbery, and he was flying up to Tallahassee just to get a confession from a guy who was already in jail. And on the way back down, there was really bad brush fires in the Everglades. And when they were coming through and they made a turn, the plane just went down in a tailspin. And it was just him and a pilot, police plane.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just turned 18 and it was 3 weeks before I graduated high school. And I had no idea what I wanted to do because now I was lost. Like my whole plan for my whole life just went down the toilet because there was no way I was going to be a cop. It was just weird, you know? not that it was traumatic because he didn't get shot or something like that. It was just, I don't know, it's hard to put into words. So I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I did know that I hated school. I was a horrible student. I was a C minus student, and there was no way I was going to college. So my friend's friend was a stockbroker in New York, the markets at that time. This is 1989. No, yeah, 1989. The markets were going through the roof, and he said, "Listen, these two guys are opening up an investment banking firm in Fort Lauderdale, and I know them really well. I can get you in the training program." And I'm like, I don't know nothing about selling, finance, stocks. Like, I know zero. I
Right.
could not be less qualified for this job. But anyway, I took the orientation and I went to the orientation and was accepted. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I did it. And I was in banking for 10 years. And honestly, looking back, it was the best decision I ever made because I learned how to sell anything to anyone.
Right.
Back then you were just cold calling. So, I mean, you really
Yeah.
learned the hard core selling. So, did that for 10 years. And they came out of the office one day, January of 99, 10 years. And they said, if you show up on Monday, you're going to have a new owner, and half the firm resigned, including myself. So the guy who sat next to me, let me just backtrack a little bit. The guy who sat next to me, his best friend was an expat who worked in Bangkok.
Mhm.
And every time he used to come visit, we used to hang out, drinks and dinner, and became really close friends. And he always used to tell me to come visit him. And I said, listen, I work 90 hours a week. I can't take a 24-hour flight. The math doesn't work out. So he called me the next day, that Saturday, and said, you have no job. Come and visit me. So I bought a 2 week ticket the next day on Sunday. This is 2 days after I resigned. And after 4 days, I called my mother and I'm like, I'm never coming home. Send all my things. And I ended up living in Bangkok for 11 years.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
That's a
that's
transition.
how the whole,
Yeah.
going overseas and getting to Asia happened. And I'll fast track you through that. I partied my butt off for like 5 years, made a lot of friends, really acclimated the mindset of living in Asia, which is, it's a culture shock the first
Mhm.
time you go over there. And it's very different. I know people say, "Oh yeah, but I've been to Japan, I've been to Thailand, I've been to Vietnam, I've been to Singapore." Yes, but it's very different living there.
Yeah.
Like when you move there, like where am I going to go grocery shopping? When I get to the grocery store, understand that I'm going to see different name brands. You're going to see a lot of the same, but especially today. But back then, very different name brands than you see at home. Like little
Yeah.
things like that. It's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
language barrier and, all the things. So social media came out about 5, 6 years later after I moved there. And however big you think social media is here, in Asia, it's on steroids. I mean, most people don't know this, but
Yeah.
when Instagram first came out, 3 out of the first 4 years that Instagram was in existence, the most Instagram place on the planet was Bangkok.
Wow. I didn't know that.
And who was there? And that's when I was like in my prime. So when social media came out, I had a friend who was in banking as well, living in Hong Kong, and a very, very close friend. He said, listen, you're already partying with all these guys. They own hotels, they own restaurants, they own, everybody in hospitality. He goes, why don't you open up a marketing agency, a digital agency? He goes, the parent company of my company is investing millions into this. He goes, you would crush it. And he goes, I said, I didn't know anything about this industry. And he said, you already have the contacts. Is all you need to do is hire people that know that industry and then introduce your friends to them and they become clients and that's a business. And I said, can't be a business. Well, it was. So on a whim, I started the first digital agency, which turned out to be in Asia. And we were the
Wow.
biggest for 5 years. And all my clients were hotels, restaurants, resorts. And this is when the first wave of Western hotel or casinos entered Macau. This is when Marine Bay Sands was
I
being built
see.
in Singapore. This is when the first wave of crazy hotels opened in Bali. This is when Southeast Asia and Thailand really got mature in tourism and started
Gotcha.
just going through the roof. And we were there. So that was my on the job training, if you will.
Yeah.
I, at my peak, I had 37 full-time employees and we were just crushing it. I mean, I was turning away more clients that I didn't want to hire more staff. So I was
Yeah.
just turning away so much business because not that we were the best, because we weren't, but we were the only. When
Yeah.
you're first, like you can make a lot of the decisions, you know? So I really got tired of the agency life. Agency life sucks because all you're doing is putting out fires. It's not fun
Really?
anymore. Oh,
Gotcha.
it's all you're doing is dealing with problems. Like the higher you go, I mean,
The
it
more it
was,
is.
listen, think about this. You have 37 employees, okay? Every three or four people handles four or five accounts, right?
Yeah.
They're not coming to you when they can do the job. They're only coming to you when they have an issue.
Got you. Understand.
You
Yeah.
have people to do a job. The
Yeah.
people aren't coming to the job. Hey, I just did this. I did a good job. Oh, okay, why are you coming to me? You go to your boss when you have an issue.
And it was
So
it was a
it was
growing issue.
just a headache. It was a nightmare, and I sold it. And then, I was really getting big on social. This is when Twitter meant something. I mean, it was it. You got your news there. You got it was very, very important platform back in the day. And I was first 2,000 people on Twitter. I mean, back in the day,
Yeah.
I was the first American expat in all the Asian countries to have 1 million followers on Twitter, which got
Wow.
me front page news because back then social media was big. It was a new
Yeah.
shiny thing. So that got me speaking gigs, that got me clients, that got me, it was just a snowball effect.
Mm.
Since then, they've cleansed and I've lost a lot, and Twitter just, X is garbage now. But I think I have 560, 570 left. It's a shame because it's just,
Yeah.
all that
It's a
audience is
shadow of
just
its
going
own
down the
self.
toilet.
Yeah.
It's unreal. I'm
Yeah.
holding on, but I'm not holding on with confidence.
That's smart. That's smart.
I am getting aggressive on Blue Sky though.
I've heard about Blue
Um,
Sky. I have. I
yeah.
have.
So so I ended up starting to bounce around, and I ended up total living in Thailand for 11 years, Philippines for a year, Sri Lanka for a year, Spain for 4, Portugal for 1, and the UK for 1. And then I came back to the States in 2015. When I came back to the States,
Why?
that is when I really blew up, because that is when social media was starting to get mature here. That's when influencer marketing was actually a thing and people were spending money on it. So understand that the whole time that I lived overseas, and I hate the word influencer, it's just
Yeah.
whatever, it's a nauseating word. But when I lived overseas, I had a big audience on social, but that's where it ended. Like there was no such thing as exchanging a post for a hotel night. There was
Yeah.
no such thing as exchanging anything for anything. They were like, "Oh yeah, like take a picture of the food and post it." Okay. Like it wasn't a
Yeah.
thing to me and it wasn't a thing to anybody else. But it got you clout, like it got you meetings that other people can't get, and it got you in places, but you couldn't barter it for anything,
Right.
but it was clout. It was weird.
Yeah.
Um so when I came back because I received a tweet actually that I replied to, and it was a young kid living in Silicon Valley, and he was starting a travel app, and he said, listen, I want you to be my global brand ambassador. I was living in Portugal, I think. And he said, I'm I'm living in Silicon Valley. I want you to be my global brand ambassador, but I have no money. He goes, I can give you a piece of the company and you can live at my place. I have a 2 bedroom place. I live right downtown San Francisco. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I always go with my gut. Like, the
Yeah.
last time I planned for everything, everything fell through. So now I just go with my gut and I either go all in or I'm all out. That's it. So after we talked for a couple hours, I was like, all right, whatever, send me a ticket. So I went to San Francisco. I was based there for a year. And that is when I started getting reached out to all these PR agencies, and they were inviting me on these trips, these press trips and fam trips and this and that. And I had no idea what it was. So I had to learn all that business and My first big campaign was a huge road trip that I did with Kia around the country. It was 36 days. We visited 15 countries, and
Yeah.
we got a minivan and we wrapped that travel app logo on the minivan, and it was just cool.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, and then I got the TV show. I was the TV host for the first travel series on Lifetime called Video Globetrotter. The pandemic ruined that. Kind of glad because the production studio was horrible. It was all pay to play. They didn't know what they were doing. But
Okay.
it's yeah, it's so now I do it full time. I sold everything I owned 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I live in hotels. I use South Florida as a base because I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. And that's it. And here we are today. You and me talking.
That's a journey, man. I gotta give it to you. And it's also
That was a long,
inspiring.
I think that was the longest intro story that I've ever did on a
Well, because
podcast.
you've accomplished a lot and you've also lived a lot, that's
Oh, I failed a lot as well, man. I've lost every penny I've had 3 times, and just because, like, if I feel it, I feel it. Like
yeah.
you go in, you go all in, you go all in. Like I don't care. Like
Wow.
if you start over, you start over. Like I don't money. When I worked in the investment banking world, that's all that mattered. How
Yes.
much are you making? Like people talk about how much they make. People talk about how much did you make on that trade? How much did you make last month? How much did you make this year? Like that's one thing about me. Like when I talk to friends, like I talk about money very freely. And sometimes when I meet somebody that I don't know that well, it's like weird and off-putting to them.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not trying to like back them into a corner. It's just I'm so used to talking about um and honestly, as long as I have enough to do what I need to do, I really don't care. Like I haven't
Yeah.
owned a car since
Yeah.
'99. Um, I don't know. It just doesn't
Mhm.
matter to me.
I'm
It
with you on that
doesn't.
one.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like I have friends that make $2,000 a month, and I have friends that make $1 million a month.
Yeah.
And both of those people, they're not different people. Yeah, they buy different things, but they're not different people. At the end of the day, they still put their pants on one leg at a time. They
Yeah.
still go to sleep on a bed. Yeah, a much bigger place, a much more comfortable bed, but
Yeah.
it's the same stuff, man. It's the same,
It's the same
same.
thing. I think that also like when you do travel, you go to other uh countries and cultures, they don't put that sort of importance on money as important as in Western society. So when you get out of that bubble, like as you did, as you got out of the brokering world, you noticed it. It was more about living life and enjoying, I guess, the little pleasures instead of, how much you've earned in a trade 1 week or 1 month or 1 quarter against the last.
I mean, listen, don't get me wrong. Like when I was in investment banking, I lived the life. So we had an office in Fort Lauderdale. We had an office on 59th and 3rd up in Manhattan. So 8 of those 10 years, I did 2 weeks and 2 weeks, which was the best life ever. Um, I had a place on 3rd and between 81st and 82nd. It was sick. It was 2 apartments, wall knocked down. So I had the biggest apartment in the whole building. Like it was so stupid. But but yeah, I mean, like I lived that life. I've been there and done that and I know what that's like. And that's nothing until you
Yeah.
go overseas. And then it's on a whole nother level. Like, are you going to Ibiza? Are you renting a villa? Are you going to Marbella? Are you renting a villa? Like then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're buying a little bottle in the club in South Beach. Okay, let me show you how the big boys do it. But
Right.
I live both of those lives. Like, listen, I went to Barcelona just because I've never been to Spain before. When I was living in Thailand and I was getting ready to leave. No, I was living in Colombo. I was living in Sri Lanka and I was getting ready to leave. And I had one friend who lived in Spain and he lived in Barcelona. Kind of boring guy. Like he was very homebody. He had a girlfriend. He always stayed home, watched TV, didn't go out. I'm like, dude, you're in Spain. Like, let's go.
Do something.
So he's like, come over, visit. We'll hang out. So I went over there and I loved it. I ended up living in Barcelona for 3 years. Spain's very difficult to do business in. I mean, it's just terrible.
Mhm.
Hospitality's horrible, worst service in the world, but it's a fun country. It is
Yeah.
a fun, beautiful, delicious country.
Yeah.
Um, And when I found out how close Ibiza was to Barcelona, I was like, dude, I'm moving here. That first summer, I went to Ibiza like 27 times. It was like I was out of control. I was coming back and I was like, man, this is boring. I got to go back. And I would leave. I would go back after 2 days. I was like, yeah, it was. I did Ibiza hardcore,
Look,
or Ibiza,
Ibiza
as
is
they say.
it's a gem. It's tough to
Yeah, bro.
beat. It's tough
Yeah,
to
bro.
go back to regular after you do Ibiza.
No, you can't. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not easy. But so you pretty much, are showcasing that there's other ways to live life, and obviously finances aren't that big of a deal. You start to learn that there's much more important things in life to matter about. But one thing that I've noticed in sort of your business ventures is that you do this storytelling is very important to hospitality because this is what you're doing. This is what sort of you're showcasing that to when you were running the digital agency company. Uh, you had to tell this story. You had to tell this like importance of travel, importance of hospitality, importance of location, and why it's vital. How did you sort of curate that business in that particular moment?
So how storytelling really became an important part of my life is I just married the two worlds that I'm in. I was in investment banking, so I learned how to sell anything to anyone. And I'm in social media where storytelling and basically what's storytelling? Storytelling is a sexy way to sell.
Yeah,
What do you sell? You're selling a lifestyle, you're selling a psychology, you're selling this dream, you're selling this vacation, you're selling a reality. What it means to everybody is different.
yeah,
Somebody who makes a lot of money and somebody who makes no money, or somebody who's just on the fence and they're just middle ground, it's going to mean something different to all three of these people.
yeah,
The guy with money, the ROI could come in 5 seconds. Oh, I want that. I want to do it this weekend. Let's go. Click. Buy now. The guy who makes no money, it's just aspirational, inspirational, whatever you want to call it. And, they just watch and dream that's something that they'll never do.
yeah,
Or the person in the middle that they're just, it's something that, okay, I want to do that. 6 months, I can do that. I can click buy. I'm going to set aside X amount per month and let's do it. Or like most Americans, let's just take out another credit card, go into debt, and like book that dream vacation. But anyway, it's going to happen. But yeah, it's just listen. At the end of the day, people do not care about your post. They
Mm,
care about what your post can do for them.
exactly.
I hear something all the time, and yes, it's true, but it's not really true. Attention spans aren't shortening.
Mm.
Yes, they are. Tolerance for boring content is shortening. People still binge watch a whole season of a show on Netflix. They'll
Yeah,
sit in front of their do it.
yeah,
So if I'm on, it's really the only time I watch TV is when I'm on a flight. If I'm on a long haul flight to Europe or Asia or wherever, and I'm on a flight, like I will watch 6 episodes in a row, 7 episodes in a row. Of course,
yeah.
I'm not bored. Like I want to watch it. Saying social media marketing is just making posts is like saying cooking is just mixing ingredients.
See what you're saying.
It doesn't happen like that.
Yeah,
I work with so many brands that leave ROI on the table because the lack of storytelling, the lack of empathy and care doesn't go into their posts because they're posting because society says I need to do social media, so I'm going to do it. Let me check that box, move on.
wow.
Most hotels do. Most hotels will hire a girl. Hey, you're our social media person. It's you. It's your job. That's it. Okay. But besides social media, I'm going to give you 15 other things that I want you to do. These 15 are super important when you get a chance to do the social media thing. Okay.
Well, I see.
That is the reality of the hotel space
Yeah,
globally. Or they farm it out to an agency, and the agency gives you the proposal is I'm going to do 2 posts a week. I'm going to engage for an hour every other day on comments. I'm going to create with my graphic design team 4 different images for whatever promotion that you're doing. And that's it. There's no concentration on ROI, concentration on your growth.
Yeah.
They're just there to spin the wheel in the
Churn
mud.
out of. Yeah,
They get
exactly.
paid. That's it. And if they get 50 accounts like that, which a lot of agencies do, they're getting 2,000, 5,000, 6,000 per client spinning the wheel in the mud.
Yeah. It becomes
And
like a
so you
cog in
know
the
how they get
wheel.
new business.
Yeah.
And then you know how they get new business? They're like, hey, we represent this property. This property is, they're awesome. So if they trust us, you got to trust us.
Yeah.
And then they'll sign 15 other hotels.
Yeah, and that's all, and that's how like
Care
they're
about
pitching
your
it.
growth. They don't care about your ROI. They don't
Yeah.
care about any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, if you own a restaurant, regardless if it's standalone in a hotel, whatever it is, if you own a restaurant, do you create experiences or is it designed just to be consumed? These are very important decisions that you have to make.
Yeah.
Typically, properties, like we typically deal with destinations, hotels, and cruise lines. Yes, I work with brands, and I was the brand ambassador for Lexus for a couple of years. And yeah, we work with bigger brands, but that is primarily our sweet spot. And when I say ours, I travel with an insane photographer, Chris, who's one of the top photographers in the hospitality industry. So we can find, so our typical trip looks like we do, they all want access to my audience. So we do an influencer type trip where there's a certain number of posts every day. But he also does a full on photo shoot. And what is that photo shoot? So we do a call, like right after this, we're doing a call with Visit Smokies. So the Smoky Mountains in North Carolina. We're going to visit them either in the end of January or April. So we're doing the call to discuss that. And like if we're at a hotel, like what do they want to concentrate on? Do they want to concentrate on the destination around the hotel, their F&B program, the rooms, the public spaces? Like what photos? And like we
Yeah.
can do 10 photos or 1,000 photos, whatever it is in between. But and then we actually deliver assets.
Mhm.
So, I fly drones every day. So does he. We'll do drone photography, drone video, social media, like, and the deliverables, we actually deliver assets. So
Right.
they can use this and really push forward in their digital strategy if they even have one, which most people don't. But
Because
yeah.
the truth is, a lot of hotels and a lot of hospitality firms, they don't know how to use or tell the story properly, and they don't know how to actually allow that story to impact their ROI. And that's
No
what I've
way.
noticed in this hospitality industry since getting into it. It's very bland in that space. It's almost like it's this dark hole that has yet to been discovered or filled.
But he's doing the same thing. And the ones that are doing unique things are, you know who does unbelievable in social media? All the garbage food.
Yeah, that's very true.
Burger King,
They
McDonald's,
do, they do.
KFC, Oreos, Taco Bell. Like,
They figured it out.
there's nothing wrong with them. I've eaten them,
Yeah.
but they do it best. Do you know what one of the greatest campaigns that ever happened, and it happened by mistake? Do you remember? Are you a football fan?
Yes.
NFL?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you remember several years ago when they actually had a blackout during the halftime show? If you Google it, you will know. Like it was a big deal. And it was only like two or
Oh
three
wait, the
minutes.
the the
But it was
Ravens game?
I
I
don't
think it
remember who
was.
was playing. But it
Yeah.
was it was literally all the power went off in the stadium for like 2-3 minutes. And then whoever, so this junior social media guy, you can Google
Yeah.
this junior social media guy on the marketing team of Oreo Cookie was sitting there and he's like, hey, dunk in the dark on social. And it exploded and it turned into this tens of million dollar campaign. And they literally that was really the start of the evolution for junk food on social media. That's when they realized that it was just
Everybody
go
goes
all
for it.
in. Yeah.
Everybody go into it.
But you really like just
I'm gonna look it up.
everybody watching this, please Google that. It was unbelievable.
I feel
Oreo,
like it was
just
Ravens.
Google Oreo Duck in the Dark Super Bowl. It's an unbelievable story. But yeah, I mean, listen, the biggest things, but for that to happen, you need to be ready all the time.
Yeah.
You need to have your digital infrastructure in place. You need to have your social media strategy in place. It has to be aligned with your PR strategy, with your marketing strategy. You're all in the same house.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Think about this. Hotels have an outside agency that does PR, an outside agency that does social media. Those two places are charging two different retainers.
Mhm.
They generally don't know each other. They have different ROI goals. So if they have different ROI goals, they're never going to be in sync with you. All three parties are never going to be in sync. It is a recipe for a nightmare.
Yeah. Because they're not talking to each other. Exactly.
Some goals.
Yeah.
Me, I want to have 3 posts a week and I want to grow 500 followers per month. I just want to get my message out. I want brand awareness.
That's it.
So like
Yeah.
it's just,
They're not
and
ever gonna
every
be
day
doing.
it's like that. It's just synergy every day. It's never a perfect harmony.
I get you. I'm with you on yeah. And I've noticed that when I talk to other hospitality leaders who deal with that disconnect between brand awareness and also the marketing strategy or at least the PR team also, they're all like on these different planes and they never really understand each other or even how they interconnect. It's baffling to me. And it's also this goes and also what makes it even more baffling is that the hospitality industry, there's such tight margins. So there's little room for marketing spend or brand awareness spend. This stuff is like
Margins are getting thinner
tight.
by the day.
It's very thin. So you think they'd have a great execution to be like, hey, look, we only have X amount. We have to, make this
Yeah,
last or whatever.
exactly.
But no, it's like, yeah, okay, I guess we lost it. So much insight you just shared there. How does it feel to be rated top 100 of social media? I'm not going to use the word, but social media impactors.
I mean, listen, I use it to get jobs, and I'm honored to be on that list every year, and it's a wonderful feeling, but it means nothing in my everyday life.
Mm,
Other than it being pinned to the top of my Instagram account and LinkedIn account, and it comes up when I talk with brands for the first time,
yeah,
means nothing. But I mean, listen, you have to have a background and you have to know what you're doing to get
right.
on that list. So it means something, but it means nothing at the same time.
Wow.
You win the lottery tomorrow, you win $1 million. At the end of the day, you're probably taking the payout, you're probably taking taxes, you're paying an attorney, da 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 da. You're
Yeah,
walking away with 300 grand, right?
yeah,
You got 300 grand in your bank account. You're the same person as you were yesterday. You
yeah.
might have a better meal. You might go on a better trip once or twice because that money is not going to last forever.
Well,
You might have a better car, but you're still the same person.
I
Still
like
got to
that
grind.
assumption.
Still got
Yeah,
to grind.
yeah. You
If
still
it's
got to
not
grind.
300 million, that's changing your life.
That's true. That's very true. If it's not
You know,
300 million, it's not really up there. But I
dude,
do appreciate
there's not a lottery ticket attached to this ranking. It's nice. I'm humbled. I'm honored. But other than using it for business, yeah,
Yeah,
okay, that's
it's
great.
just it's a nice acknowledgement. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
But
mean,
I know
listen, that industry works hard to make that list. So shout out to them.
yeah, I know. I do appreciate that to you. It's a nice acknowledgement, but it's more about authenticity and also integrity. That, yeah, it's nice, but it's not who you are. Like even if I believe even if there was a $1 million payout to it, you would still be doing the same thing you're doing today if it
My life
was.
wouldn't change.
Yeah,
My
it wouldn't
life wouldn't
change anything.
change. I mean, I already know I could go back to investment banking tomorrow and do the whole money thing again, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
Like the people in the hospitality industry, and I go to these places and I'm surrounded by the greatest people on the planet. Like these people, unbelievable. I mean, I get to go to Thailand and live for 11 years. Like those are the kindest
Wow.
people on on the face of this earth. Still to this day, I've done 85, 86 countries. Thailand's still number one. It's so far from number two.
Wow.
It's crazy. I wouldn't even know the distance. Like
It's
it's not even close. I love it there so much.
wow. Are you gonna
If it
move back
wasn't
there?
such an in listen, I would move back there tomorrow, because I actually am not a fan of living back in the States, but I would move back there tomorrow if it wasn't so disconnected from the rest of the world. Like I do a lot with the cruise industry. The cruise industry is based in Miami.
Yeah.
I do a lot with the Caribbean. I can get to any island in an hour or two from Miami. Like it's just easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. I
It's
understand.
very, very like I'll get a call from, I don't know, this island. I give you a real life example. Like 8 months ago, I got a call from an island in the Caribbean. They were like, "Hey, our fiscal year ends in a few weeks," and no, this was last year around this time, and our fiscal year ends in a few weeks, and I have this much left, but you'd need to come like within days, like 2, 3 days. If I'm in Thailand and you got to take a 24-hour flight and plan the whole thing, like it's just too inconvenient.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, as much as I
It's
love it, it's just inconvenient.
as you put it, it's very disconnected. It's kind of
Yeah,
off the
too
beaten path.
far,
Yeah,
but I love
it's
it.
super far. Well, that's why, yeah. Well, look, you got 11 years out of it. So there's something to be said.
Like,
Uh, so where do you see the future of not only yourself, but also the hospitality industry? Where do you see it going?
I mean, honestly, I don't even think that if I'm using a baseball analogy, which baseball is my favorite sport. You're a Yankee fan, I'm assuming.
I don't watch much baseball, honestly,
Oh,
but
okay.
I guess no, actually, I would be
So,
an Orioles fan because I was born in Baltimore and I'm a Rays.
Baltimore, yeah, okay. 10 yards, nice field. So I, if I had to lay it all out, I would say that the hospitality industry, as far as social media marketing going all in, they're not even on first base. Some people are doing it, and some people are doing it extremely well, and some people are crushing it.
Yeah,
But that's very few, very, very few. I'm not talking about a cool hotel in Bali that has a 500,000 followers because Bali's the place to be. I'm talking about actually doing marketing strategy, having your strategy, having a team, having doing it right. When they're not cool and Bali isn't the place to go, like how are you going to back that up? Like what's next? Bali's not going to be hot forever. Tulum's
true.
not going to be hot forever. You know what? You know, Machu Picchu was. Then they kind of like, where's that
Yeah,
now? Like, still there in Peru, still, but it's different.
yeah,
You know, what happens then? And people do it wrong. They're backwards in their thinking. They're like, oh, I'm crushing it right now. Like I'm spending zero on marketing, like nothing. Like I'm getting all this UGC, all the customers are posting, we're just sharing, like I don't have to do anything. That is when you should go all in.
yeah,
How far, how long can you make that wave last?
yeah.
They're doing it backwards because when it stops and then you have to start again, you have to invest like 4 times as much
Y-
to get it going again.
And you might even hit that peak that you had when it was just, I guess, like
You're never
the
going to hit
natural
it
wave.
again.
Yeah.
You're never going to hit it, and it's going to cost you a fortune.
Oh, true, true. It's gonna be yeah, it's gonna be super, super expensive.
You're
And
making three rights to make a left. You're working hard, not smart.
yeah, and that's the thing. And I like the way you put it. It's a wave. A lot of these, these hot spots and everything, they come in waves. And if you're not either at the right peak of it or even know how to, as you said, extend that wave, you're gonna have to deal with the normal flow of how attraction works. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold, and if you're too late, then you lost a lot of opportunity, a lot of revenue that could have been generated from there. But it's a tough market. And I see that when you did start your digital agency, you kind of were on the wave, like that wave of right as social media was starting, right as travel marketing was becoming a sort of a term or a terminology in some way. Uh, is that where do you see where is that wave now? Is it kind of on the down? Is it on the upswing? Is it kind of in its second wave, or where do you position it?
Fatality?
Yeah.
No, it's I would definitely say it's on the upswing.
Okay.
I mean, listen, we're I think right now by the end of this year, I think we're at pre-COVID travel spend levels, hotels, hospitality as a whole. Corporate travels back, leisure travels back. Leisure travel is booming back because people are doing bucket list trips like
Oh
it's
yeah.
nobody's business. I mean, Antarctica's booming, Iceland's booming, Greenland, all
Yeah.
these places. So I definitely think it's an upswing. I just think that you cannot look at the industry to soothe what you think is going on with your property, your destination, your hotel, your cruise line. The cruise industry is booming. There's no sector of the tourism industry that's booming harder than the cruise industry. It is, I mean, every Carnival just ordered 8 more ships. I mean, everybody's ordering ships. I mean, these shipyards are backlogged 15 years, 20 years. I mean, you can't order a new ship right now and they start working on it today. It's impossible
Wow.
because there's not that many, there's like only two, three big proper shipyards that everybody uses. And
Oh,
the
okay.
biggest one is just outside of Venice. Shockingly,
Wow.
that's where it is. But yeah, it's just weird that
Yeah,
it's in
that's
that
weird. Right.
location.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean the cruise industry, they're selling out everything. Caribbean's booming, Alaska's killing it.
Wow.
Antarctica's crushing it. I mean, just
Oh yeah.
cruising is big. We've done 9 cruises this year. We did 11 last year. I'm at 119 for my life just because I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. I grew up
Yeah, yeah,
cruising.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I just think that you need to take a long, hard look at your individual situation.
Mm,
Okay, we have a hotel. We are in Manhattan. There is insane competition. It like insane.
yeah.
What can we do different? The industry is doing well. We don't need to do anything. Forget about the industry. You need to worry about your property. What is in your comp set? Like, what is your, 5 properties surrounding you that cater to the same clientele? What are they doing? What's their revenues look like? What is their occupancy? What's their ADR? What's their, all these things you have to know
Take into account.
basically.
Okay. Understand. I understand. Yeah, basically take that whole analysis and use that to actually like sort of further make a better decision or whatnot. Now, Scott, I know you have a day ahead of you, so I want to make sure we get these pay me in plane tickets questions to see kind of where you stand
We
and
got
where
some
you
time.
fall in the spectrum. You ready?
Let's go. Is this a speed round? Speed dating?
It's sort of like speed, but
Yeah.
maybe it might. I think you might have to pause to think for some of them. So we'll see.
There you go.
All right. So
All right, let's go.
money's not a thing, but if you had to be paid in the plane tickets, which airline are you choosing?
Number one airline?
Your number one airline.
Qatar or Singapore Airlines.
Ooh, those are nice choices. Those are nice choices, man. I'll give you that. Singapore always wins out a lot of times.
You tried Q Suites on Qatar? I mean, I
No,
know
I
they're not
haven't.
Star Alliance, but
I gotta do
wow,
it.
wow.
I
But
gotta
yeah,
do it.
Singapore. I used Air New Zealand, Singapore, and Thai a lot when I lived in Asia, like a lot, a lot.
Wow. And they pretty much crap on the American Airlines.
I would say 90% of the airlines abroad are a
Just
million times
miles
better
better.
than you. Yeah, it's just they treat you like humans. They give you
Yeah.
real food. They don't like, no, you can't do that. And like first 2 rows are empty and the plane takes off and they won't let you move your seat because you didn't pay for this. Like it's just they treat you like absolute humans.
Wow.
And America does not treat, especially on airlines, they treat you like animals. Like the
Yeah.
airlines are getting worse and worse and worse and worse and charging you more and more and more and more. It's an
Mhm.
awful experience.
Yeah. I'm with
Unless
you
you're
on that.
paying for the first class, but that's not normal. It shouldn't be that have to be that way.
That's very true. That's very true. I'll give you that.
So
That's
there's no U.S. carrier that will be ranked in the top 20 for me ever.
there it
I
is.
do like JetBlue. They're good. They give everybody free Wi-Fi. They give everybody free snacks. I like that model. I like the way they do marketing. United's getting better, but there's still, there's, the saying back in the day, too big to fail.
Yeah.
Some of these companies are too big to change.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right.
Like it, especially and I don't want to go off on a tangent. I know you got all your speed dating calls or your questions, but like when you're in Asia, when you start a company, they start with empathy. And these
Yeah.
people are born with hospitality. Like if you go to the Four Seasons in Bangkok or if you go to a hostel in Bangkok, you're still going to get treated like a human.
Yeah.
Like they're still kind, nice, warm, hospitable people.
Mhm.
In the States, they're barking at you if you walk into a Comfort Inn
Mhm.
versus going to St. Regis or Four Seasons and they treat you like a king. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree. Completely agree.
rant over. No, question number two.
Airbnb or hotel? Okay. Do you have a travel credit card that you use for your points and miles? No. Okay. Not a big one. All right. When you do travel, carry on or check bag?
I've never done one trip in my life where I've only carried on, ever.
So always check bag.
Always.
Gotcha.
Big, big. All my hair products.
All right. When we talked about all the good things about travel, but do you have a traveling pet peeve?
I think that when people travel, it's sort of like it gives them the um, access to act like a fool. Like what they do when they're traveling, they would never do back home, ever.
Preach.
I mean, kindness and manners mean so much to me.
Yeah.
I mean, they mean a lot. I always tell people when you're packing, pack your patience, pack your kindness,
Wow.
bring it on trips.
I'm stealing that one. I'm stealing that one.
This, like just, you know, walking through the airport, talking on speakerphone without earbuds, and everybody, like just bothering everybody around you.
Mhm.
Like, it's just rude.
Yeah.
Walking with your backpack, not having any. Listen, I carry a big backpack, and it's always chock full. It's always heavy. So if I get somebody with that thing, like they're knocked out. But I'm always aware of when I'm turning, is there somebody close to me? I always take it off before I walk into an airplane because when you're walking by people, like I see people get hit all the time. And it's not your fault. You're not aiming for them. It's not, you're not playing Mario Kart. You're not trying to bump the car off the road. It's just,
It's just, yeah, the way it
it
is. Yeah, yeah,
happens.
yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Just be kind. Just have manners. Treat
Pack your
people
patience.
with kindness.
Yeah. Pack your patience, pack your kindness. I like that. Um, when you do travel, is it a window, aisle, or middle seat?
This is funny. My God, do people actually say middle seat? So, so I love being by windows because I want that content. I love it. I love it so much. But I hate disturbing people if I have to get up. So I'm always 100% of the time on an aisle.
Aisle gang. That's where we at. Okay. If you had to travel to one
A window.
location, oh, one,
If I
yeah,
have a
window if you
choice.
could, but it's
Yeah.
aisle
Yeah.
by,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
default. But yeah. If you had to travel to one location for the rest of your life, where would it be and why? So you could live somewhere, but you only could travel to one place. Bangkok. All right. I should have seen that coming.
Yeah. I mean, that's That's going to be the quickest question that you asked me.
Yeah, that was actually I could have answered that myself. All right, last one before you go. Where's your next trip? Nah, you're currently on one, but yeah.
So I'm in Colombia right now. I'm just because whenever I have like a month free or whatever, like I don't have any big trips, I like to go to a city. It has to be a big city because I need a big airport that I can easily fly out of. Uh, I like to go to a place that I don't know anybody and I've never been before just to see what happens.
Yeah,
Like, I don't know, content or like, am I going to travel, do day trips? Am I going to meet cool local people? Am I going to meet people that I do business with? Like, who knows?
yeah,
But it's either staying in a hotel in Florida or staying in a hotel here. Like, what's the difference?
right.
Like, I just need Wi-Fi, that's it. And then we can
That's
do
it, man.
stuff like this. But the next
Exactly.
trip that's in the books is we are doing some winter content. We're going to Quebec City and around that region the end of January.
Oh,
So I think we leave January 25th, 24th, something like that. We're going to be up there for like a week, week and a half.
oh, that's
Like
exciting.
very cool drone stuff with the snow, snowmobiling, snowshoeing, like just, all the stuff that we do in Florida.
Well, make sure
But
you bring your heavy coat, not your shorts, man. That's awesome.
yes. Different packing attire. Having said that, Bogota is the third highest major metropolitan city in the world as far as above sea level. They're right below Denver.
Oh,
So it
wow.
never gets above like 70 degrees here.
Oh,
And
so
at
it'll keep you
nights it's
fresh
like
too.
50s and 40s.
So you need a
Yeah, like
jacket.
this morning was
Yeah,
51 when I woke up. Like
yeah. Oh,
it's
wow. I
nice.
didn't
It's
know
great. I
that.
love it. I love this weather.
That no, well, compared to Florida's humidity, this is definitely beautiful.
Florida has 2, 3 months of insane flawless weather. Like right now, it's like 60s during the day and like no clouds. Like that's like gold compared to like Buffalo, 4 feet in like 24 hours. They're just getting annihilated.
Oh man,
But
yeah, no. I remember when I had to be in Rochester for a minute, and I remember the day there was
yeah,
like
they get
a
snow up
massive
there.
snowstorm coming,
They get
and it
snow up
was
there.
like the company was like, "You guys gotta go. Like you guys are gonna be stuck here for a while if you don't
Yeah,
catch this plane."
yeah.
But Scott, all right, I'm gonna let you go. I know you gotta do your thing. Thank you for hopping on this podcast. There's a
This was
lot
fun.
learned, a lot that you shared, man. Your journey is definitely inspirational, and I'm looking forward to. We are all looking forward to sort of the next phase and improved, updated versions of not only yourself but also your business.
Appreciate you, bro.
I appreciate you, man.